Welcome back. All right, news of the day video for all you fine people. Any player placed on waivers yesterday cleared, so we'll get that out of the way first. We've got some injury news too, though, in that for St. Louis, they will now be without Scott Perunovich. He's having shoulder surgery. He will be out a minimum of 6 months. So this is not great news for a St. Louis team that's already looking at some issues on the blue line. And so Perunovich out 6 months means he won't be jumping into that opportunity that was there waiting for him. So that's it. It's a shame, really. And Perunovich was a player I've talked about in videos during the offseason that I was excited to see what he could do this year for St. Louis. But now that's going to get pushed back, right? Montreal has sent Messar down to the AHL. Also, they have waived Belzile and Stevens, among other moves that have been made by the Montreal Canadiens. Slavkovsky, on the other hand, practicing on the top line. So Slavkovsky, not amongst those being sent down to Laval, as we're starting to see more and more players getting sent to AHL affiliates, as the AHL season itself is going to be starting up not too long from now either. So with Messar being sent down to the AHL, this means that their first-round draft pick, they can keep an eye on him, they can call him up if they want to, they can leave him in the AHL, which is likely the plan. And Slavkovsky eventually probably finds his way to Laval too before the season starts. But they're giving him every look on top lines, and why not? Last night he played a really good game. A game that Montreal didn't play great in, but he did. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can build on that and maintain a spot on the roster going into opening night. Chris Tanev turned some heads in his return last night. Hadn't played since the playoffs, so nice to see him back and healthy and helping out in Calgary's victory over the Seattle Kraken. Sonny Milano, while the team won 4-1, Milano continues to not impress, and it really looks like he's going to get released. At this stage, though, he has not been released by the Flames from his PTO, but you have to think that's coming. And it's interesting, too, because Milano had a good year last year for Anaheim. I know the second half wasn't as good as the first half, but altogether it was a decent season, and now who knows what happens when the Flames end up releasing him, right? So Hockey Canada, again today, in talking to members of the House of Commons here in Canada, just making themselves not look great. And they don't see a problem in leadership. It's great when the bosses say, we think the bosses are doing really well. We think our president's done a fantastic job throughout all of this discussion. And we see no reason to tell you anything. When asked for the results of a probe that they had, they said no. So this is the thing, right? They're basically saying, yeah, we're not going to be more transparent. We're fine with that. And even going as far as one of the members of leadership in Hockey Canada basically insinuating that if they did call their leadership to try to bring in a new way of running things, what would that do to hockey in Canada? And it would shut down a whole bunch of rinks across the country, and it would just... No, it wouldn't. They'd have new leadership. So that's not how it works. It's not like if the boss gets fired, we go, well, I guess this business is gone because they fired the boss. No, you promote somebody else to be the boss, either from within or preferably with everything that's gone on with Hockey Canada that we found out, somebody who's not a part of the company right now. But yeah, they continue to just open mouth, insert foot. And so, yeah, I don't think there's much else that's going to come of it, although they've lost a lot of sponsorship money and the government money as well. If that doesn't tell them something has to change, well, at least they're giving their boss an A. When asked to grade the boss, saying, yeah, I give him an A. Really? You're going to stick to that, huh? You're not going to go back? All right. So yeah, that continues to roll. And I really think, and I've talked about this and other things too, I think Hockey Canada is approaching this like it'll just blow over. It'll be fine. It's no big deal. We're making a big deal out of nothing. All right. Anyways, Daniel Sprong has turned a PTO into a contract with the Seattle Kraken. He signs a 1-year deal. It's a 2-way deal. $750,000 at the NHL level, and though it's a 2-way deal, he does still have to clear waivers in the event that he doesn't make it onto the Seattle Kraken roster. But he's got an NHL contract. So good on Sprong for forcing his way into the conversation and earning himself a contract. I don't have a problem with that. I think Sprong has decent goal-scoring ability. There's not a lot else there, but his scoring ability with Seattle wasn't bad after they got him in a trade last year. Or didn't they picked him up on waivers last year? Anyways, it was trade or waivers. Either way, People will correct me in the comments section. I'm not redoing the video. It's not going to happen. Sprong ended up in Seattle, did well, end of story. Gaunts has been waived by Columbus. Brendan Gaunts being waived is not a surprise. At some point this season, he'll probably get called up and play relatively well. There's no one area of the game where Gaunts excels, but he does have, he gives a good effort, and he's a good fill-in from the minors, but he does have to be waived, so there he goes. Owen Sillinger, also amongst those cut. He was actually released from his professional tryout. He now reports to Cleveland, where he's on an amateur tryout with the AHL affiliate of Columbus. So he'd still end up being in the Columbus organization, basically just not contracted to Columbus. He would be contracted to Cleveland. So, yeah, best of luck to him. Vancouver, some big news, and big moves, I should say. Not necessarily huge news here. Delia being waived isn't really a surprise. And if you really want to go down the rabbit hole on this, you can say it's interesting that they waive him after he allows 7 against the Oilers. There's some concern apparently within the Canucks organization about Delia being claimed. DiPietro has kind of wanted out, and they haven't traded him, and apparently part of that could be because they want to make sure they've got that depth. And so if Delia were to get claimed on waivers, and if they'd already moved DiPietro, there isn't a lot of depth in net. If Delia ends up clearing and going to the AHL, maybe we see DiPietro get moved, because Silovs, DiPietro, Lockwood, Klimovich are amongst those who have already been sent to Abbotsford today. So that's 3 goalies, and there's not enough net for 3 goalies in the AHL. It's not going to work. DeKeyser was also released from his PTO. I did not think he had a very good game last night. I thought it might have been the worst I've seen him play for Vancouver. So I'm not really surprised, especially with the way Wolanin played, right? So Wolanin kind of played DeKeyser out of a job as far as I can tell. Last night's game was about who excelled and who really brought their game, even their A game, even though they were vastly overmatched by the Edmonton Oilers. Juleson, keeper, Brisebois, Stevens, all waived. So Brady, keeper. When I was talking about Canucks that could have a bounce-back season or breakthrough season, there were a couple that said, what about Brady, keeper? I think the injuries have taken their toll, and so I would be very surprised if he gets claimed. Juleson, of course, I really hope clears. Like having him here in Abbotsford. Brisebois and Stevens should absolutely clear. Stevens, a good veteran by AHL standards, and it'll be nice to have him back with the Abbotsford Canucks. The Boston Bruins have waived Oscar Steen. They also waived Connor Carrick and Nick Wolf. And it's a shame about Wolf, because I kind of liked his physical game last night. I'm not saying he had a great game. I don't know that there was a Bruin that had a great game last night. I'm a little bit surprised at them waiving Carrick, but he probably clears. Connor Carrick might be one of the guys on the list from today who maybe gets claimed, right? For Chicago, they've waived Cini, who of course was previously with the New Jersey Devils. Sakura, who signed back in Chicago this past offseason. Philp has also been waived. And Bowden. So Nicholas Bowden has been waived by the Chicago Blackhawks. So it's a busy waiver wire yet again. I don't know how many of these guys get claimed, if any, but at least we're starting to see the minor leagues filling up. And when you start to see these minor league rosters filling up, and they're going to be having their practices and their little mini training camp too, that is a really good sign that hockey's getting ready to get going again. And we'll have National Hockey League games starting up pretty quickly here. And then once we get to the 11th, that's when we get into a lot of games in the NHL, right? So, all right, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.